Happening now as we come on the air, fast-moving wildfires evacuating entire towns.
It was horrifying. It was absolutely horrifying.
Thousands forced to flee at this hour, the first reports of casualties just coming in. Continuing coverage of Wednesday's tornado in the mid-state, what we've just learned about how far it traveled and the width of its path. Showers and storms possible this evening, but our focus turns to next week. Two big weather headlines, the day that's a soaker and when we could have lows in the 30s. And new tonight, an arrest in the murder of this missing person who authorities linked to the crime.
WGXA News on Fox 24.
Good evening and thanks for watching WGXA News at 5. I'm Aaron Leedy. Nicole Williams has the night off. First up at 5, we're learning more about a tornado that touched down in southern Bibb County Wednesday afternoon. We now know the tornado was around 200 yards wide and traveled almost 8 miles. There were numerous reports of wind damage in southern Bibb County. We've also learned damage was confirmed in at least 7 Middle Georgia counties. Our weather team was on the air when that tornado hit. Chief Meteorologist Jeff Cox joins us now in the WGXA Weather Center. Jeff, what else have you learned about Wednesday's storms?
Well, Aaron, they're still looking at some of the damage in the area, and they may end up adding a tornado in Twiggs County as well. So that's something we'll probably learn about in the next few days. Welcome into the Weather Center. Current time is 5:01. We've got the map showing the exact path of that tornado in South Bibb County, and EF0 winds. One too many zeros there. Not 800 miles per hour. We'll call it 80 miles per hour. The path length 7.5 miles, 200 yards wide, 2 football fields wide. This thing was touchdown around Boy Scout Road over to Hartley Bridge Road, crossed over 75, and then eventually lifted after it crossed over 129 south of Houston Avenue, south of Guy Payne Road. So certainly some populated areas dealing with some cleanup after Wednesday's tornado. Thankfully, no severe weather this afternoon, but we certainly have some showers and a few rumbles of thunder in the area. This is the leading edge of a cold front that will push through tonight, and with it, some intense downpours. We've also had several folks saying, man, Jeff, these clouds are ominous looking. I know they're a little dark at times, but again, no severe weather expected. We'll take you northeast of Macon, Milledgeville, Gray, McIntyre, Irwinton. You've got rain in and around the area, some heavy downpours at times. It's raining right now in Lizella, West Bibb County around Lake Tobosoffke, eastern Crawford County along 341 as you head into Fort Valley. It's a wet ride right now. Also raining right now in Macon County in the Montezuma area. Let's broaden out, put the radar into motion. All of this is pushing east, so if you are east of 75, the rain is coming in your direction. It's soggy right now on the campus of Mercer University, 69 right now with a northwest wind at 10 miles per hour. Friday night football looking dry later tonight, but soggy field conditions. Temperatures will start in the mid-60s and will finish in the upper 50s. Later in the half hour, we turn our attention to another big rainmaker and a big cold blast. The timing on both is straight ahead.
All right, Jeff, we'll see you soon. The race for Georgia's governor's seat continues to intensify. As of right now, the deadline has passed for provisional ballots to be in. But WGXA's Tiffany Thompson spoke to some volunteers for Stacey Abrams who say the race isn't over yet. Tiffany.
Aaron, that's right. Candidate Brian Kemp has declared victory in the governor's race. But Stacey Abrams says she isn't giving up so easily. Her volunteers work today to call voters who use provisional ballots to make sure those loose ends get tied. State Representative James Beverly says counting these ballots is crucial.
The reason why we're here is because we want to make sure that every ballot is counted. And a part of making sure that every ballot is counted is there are provisional ballots that are still out there, and there are absentee ballots that haven't been counted yet.
But some Kemp supporters say the race is over. Coming up in the next half hour, I'll tell you how Middle Georgians are reacting to this news and how many are saying they're confused. Reporting in the studio, Tiffany Thompson, WGXA News.
A lawsuit is now stopping the certification of ballots in Dougherty County after a heated governor's race. Lawyers for the Democratic Party of Georgia argued that because of delays with absentee ballots and the time it took to get to voters, there was a burden on those voters. And 3 days after the midterm elections, besides Georgia's governor's race, down in Florida, there are 2 elections still too close to call. Florida Governor turned Senate hopeful Rick Scott and current Senator Bill Nelson might also go to a runoff. The 2 counties in question are the Democratic strongholds of Palm Beach and Broward. They keep tallying additional ballots by the thousands. Broward County's election supervisor says it simply takes time.
We ran 22 sites. We ran 14 days. We ran 12 hours. We had a big vote by mail. So don't try to turn it around to make it seem like I'm making comedy out of this.
Current Democratic Senator Bill Nelson, who's behind in the count so far, brought in a prominent Democratic attorney to lead the fight for his team. President Donald Trump also tweeting on the ballot situation in Florida and Georgia, saying, quote, "You mean they're just now finding votes, but the election was on Tuesday? Let's blame the Russians and demand an immediate apology from President Putin."
The controversial. Some new information just into our newsroom. The enforcement says it has not launched an investigation in Howard and counties. We can tell you that this is in contrast to last night. The governor there, Rick Scott, who you see on the left of your screen, made allegations of voters fraud. Now, this is, again, in contrast from what happened last night. The agency says they have not found any credible acts of voter fraud. We can tell you that this is all still developing right now. A story we'll certainly continue to follow right here on the live desk. We'll bring you more as it develops. Aaron?
Tavares, thanks. New at 5, Bibb County Sheriff's deputies announcing investigators now tell us Raymond Leverett is facing charges for the murder of John Fleming III. They say evidence was found connecting Leverett to Fleming's disappearance and murder, but wouldn't comment any further. At this moment, Leverett is being held without bond. New at 5, Monroe County Sheriff's deputies are looking for a man they say is wanted for a home burglary on Pate Road. The man is described as being around 6 feet tall with a shaved head. He was last seen wearing an oversized black racing jacket that had patches on it. He was also driving a blue two-door car that could be a Chevrolet Cobalt or a Cavalier. If you have any information on how to find him, call the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. A Macon man is sentenced to 7 years in prison after kicking in an ex-girlfriend's door and pointing an AK-47 at her. The district attorney's office says Tommy DeMoss Jr. pleaded guilty to burglary and aggravated assault. Reports say he kicked in the door, headed to a bedroom, then pointed an AK-47 assault rifle at his ex-girlfriend. That's when another man in the room shot him in the chest.
Well, after 12 weeks of the regular season, it all comes down to this. The high school football postseason will start tonight in the Peach State as several Middle Georgia teams start their journeys towards Atlanta. Our Cam Gasson joins us with one of those teams who has a legitimate shot at a title in Warner Robins as the Demons look to get back in the championship picture. Cam?
That's exactly right, AJ. I was here for the first week of the season, way back on August 17th. It feels like a year ago. It was only a couple short months back, and I'm back here at the MAC as the Warner Robins Demons are getting ready for the state playoffs. Now, the Demons, as you guys know from last season, they fell just short in this building, actually, falling to Rome in the 5A state championship. Now they're looking to get back to the state title game, and that all starts tonight with the first round. And to do so, they're going to be doing it against a very familiar foe. In the second week of their season, the Warner Robins Demons faced Locust Grove, and they beat them pretty handily. It was a close game in the first half, but the second half they pulled away. They won 50-40, putting up their highest point total score of the season with those 50 points. So from week 2, we knew that this defense was ready to go, and you got to hope that a second rematch of this game in the first round of the playoffs will yield some similar results for the Demons. Now, talking about their offense, I also want to talk about their defense. We know what Warner Robins has been capable of scoring points. They've been averaging over 40 points per game this season, but I want to talk about defense. We have a little graphic I want to show you guys that will show you just how dominant that defense has been to finish out the season. As they say, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Now, the first 6 games of the season, Warner Robins was allowing 25 points per game, but look at what happened when they got into region play. Only allowed 10 points all 4 games in region play, and those were all against Thomas County Central. The other 3 games were shutouts. They shut out Harris County, Bainbridge, and Veterans. That's a pretty stellar way to finish out the season on defense. So you got to hope that the offense is going to score points for you. Now, the Demons have to hope that the defense can continue things rolling. If they're scoring points and shutting people out there, well, they're going to be a big problem, I think you can say, for the rest of the teams in 5A, the rest of these state playoffs, and it's all going to happen tonight. You guys can maybe see behind me here, we do have a couple of clouds. I know Jeff Cox was talking about those a second ago. I can confirm that we are in Warner Robins and we have a lot of clouds. That's why I had to move under this covering here. But as of now, no rain. There's been some strong wind, and again, it looks pretty ominous behind me right now, but as of now, no rain, no reason yet to believe that this game should be in jeopardy of starting. But that's going to do it for us right now. We'll keep you guys updated all the way through kickoff. Reporting live in Warner Robins, I'm Cam Gaskins.
Well, thanks, Cam. It's time to check out our final play of the week, and the winner is the West Side combination of Victor Dixon and Jalen Kennedy, who took home the award. They dominated the vote on both Facebook and Twitter. We will have a special Plays of the Year coming up at the end of the season, which will be when all Middle Georgia teams conclude their seasons. And you can check out all the first round action coming up tonight on 1st and 10 right here on Fox 24. Now back to Aaron.
AJ, thanks very much. New at 5, happening right now. Deadly wildfires raging on across California. The new video of the destruction just into our newsroom, and an update on the thousands of people ordered to evacuate. Plus, a rollover crash on a mid-state highway. We'll tell you how it happened and the condition of the driver. An update for you. 5,000 of migrants in Mexico City deciding to continue their trek north to the U.S.-Mexico border. The group agreed to head towards the Tijuana port of entry, deeming it safer for children. Reaching Tijuana could take approximately a week, depending on their mode of travel and their route. President Donald Trump announcing today he signed a proclamation barring migrants who illegally crossed the southern border from seeking asylum in the U.S. The president spoke to reporters before he departed the White House for Paris.
People can come in, but they have to come in through the ports of entry, and that to me is a very important thing. Again, I reiterate, we need Democrats' votes. They have to pass new immigration laws because they're flooding our country. We're not letting them in, but they're trying to flood our country. We need the wall.
That proclamation goes into effect at midnight. The American Civil Liberties Union has already responded to the federal rule, calling it illegal. New video at 5 of the terrifying wildfires in California. Mandatory evacuations underway right now as an out-of-control wildfire continues to burn in Ventura County. The fire, dubbed the Woolsey Fire, has burned more than a dozen houses and vehicles in its path. So far, it's burned more than 7,500 acres and is 0% contained. And that's not the only fire that has authorities in California concerned. The Camp Fire in Northern California, along with the Woolsey and Hill fires in Southern California, are all burning thousands of acres right now. Omar Jimenez is in Calabasas with the latest.
We are literally in a statewide red flag weather warning. Fire weather conditions are extreme, and we are seeing it from literally border to border.
While there are several wildfires burning across the state of California, officials are most worried about 3.
Obviously, California is a very large state, and we've got all hands on deck.
In the north, the Camp Fire forced more than 50,000 people from their homes, some with only moments to spare.
Minutes. Everything was ignited. By the time I got out of my house, it was like everything was on fire.
It's already burned 70,000 acres, and firefighters expect it to continue to grow.
When the Camp Fire started yesterday morning, it was immediately met with over 40-mile-an-hour winds. That fire, from the second it started, was off to the races.
Officials say at least 5 people have died as a result of the fire. And in Southern California, strong Santa Ana winds are fueling the Hill and Woolsey fires, which have forced more than 100,000 people from their homes.
The Woolsey Fire burned very rapidly overnight, crossing Highway 101 in Ventura County, and is burning in a trajectory towards the Pacific coast.
Officials say they have a long fight ahead of them and that more evacuations could be necessary.
We need the public to continue to listen to the message, pay attention to evacuation information, follow very closely all of the public safety social media.
In Southern California, I'm Omar Jimenez.
And right now we're following some developing news near Boston after a reported rollover crash that now leaves an officer injured. Here's a photo of the scene within the last hour or so. This all happening in Lawrence. Police say it started when officers responded to a report of a disturbance between a man and 2 teenagers. The 2 teens took off from the scene and were involved in a crash shortly after. Police say the cruiser responding to the scene rolled over, injuring that officer. At this hour, we're told he is expected to survive. We'll keep tracking this story for you as it develops. Aaron?
Also new at 5, emergency crews riding an overturned tractor trailer along Eatonton Highway. Authorities say the wreck happened when the trailer somehow overpowered the semi, turning over the entire vehicle. The driver wasn't hurt and no other vehicles were involved in that crash. Happening now, police in Warner Robins looking for the person they say robbed a Dollar General store last night. This happening on Watson Boulevard. If you have any information about this crime, call Crime Stoppers. That number 877-68-CRIME.